So we've got the DB5 convertible back. It's just come back for a few snagging jobs to do on the car. Customer's been building it up. The convertible roof has got to go back on, and the lights have got to have the rings back on the inside. But other than that, everything else is pretty much done on the car. We're just doing a few little jobs, mainly under seal work, and we have a final polish when everything's back assembled, so we've just been doing that. But let me just run through what we've done on the car. You've probably seen our other videos of work that's been going on. Now, unfortunately, the car came in just to be basically resprayed on the outside without bare metaling or anything like that. But there's a few little splits in the paintwork. Now, initially, I just thought they were just filler splits because of the age, and Aston Martin's being a steel chassis, and then aluminium panels can quite often split in small areas. But unfortunately, when we sanded this front end back, we actually found that there was a good, I think it was 14 mil or something like that deep of filler, which is way too much. Even with the high quality fillers we have these days, that's pushing it really. So no wonder it split in a few areas. So we spoke to the customer agreed that we could repair this front end. So we had repaired this whole front end. He repaired this section up to the wing about here, right around the front, and then that front section of the body there was completely replaced. It was actually an inch back when we measured it. This front end corner was actually an inch back, so we had to redress it and get it all to be right, which it is now. And that way we don't have to use hardly any filler on the body. So we've done a sympathetic bare metal respray of the whole car. Whilst we were there, we sorted out all the gaps. So notoriously, the front of an Aston Martin along the front here, bonnet's opened and overextended, then it can actually catch the paintwork. But we fixed that. That's no longer an issue. Got all the gaps right round the bonnet, so that's nice. Headlights as well. The gaps and lines around the headlights were just completely wrong, so we've got all that right. There was missing detail along this nose here, which we've put back in. The grille didn't fit quite right, obviously because of the shape difference in the car, but now it's all right. It all looks spot on, so that's really good. Also around the grille section here, again, Aston Martin problem. The way the chrome touches the bodywork often causes issues with the paint. But what we do is we put a piece of paper behind, and we actually line it up so it touches the paper, but then we can pull the paper out, and then we know there's a fresh air gap between that metal and the paintwork, and it won't damage it in the future. So we've done all that, so that looks good. There are some alignment issues with the door, which makes sense now we know the damage was there, but the door was too far back and it had some spaces in, quite thick spaces, probably about 2.5 mil maybe. So we removed all those and realigned the doors once the wing was on, and everything fits really well now. We've got a beautiful gap around the front of the door. We've got a beautiful gap around the back of the door, and you'll notice that the curvature is right, so that the levels are all level all the way around, without changing the tension that was already on. If the doors are already tensioned with a piano wire, then we tend to try and leave them where we can, because we know everything's going to fit on. So in this case, we didn't have to do that. It all lined up, which was really good. Then around the filler flap, we had a similar issue with gaps and lines. They just weren't right. So we managed to rectify all that for the customer. Same with the boot. The boot was actually too flat. So we managed to put the curvature to be spot on again. And the gaps around it were wrong. The profile was just wrong, but we managed to get all that sorted for the customer. This back shelf here where the roof went actually had some spaces on to raise it up. We don't know why they're there. They don't look like a genuine item. So we removed all those. We got the levels right for the back. The hood's been tried on. It all fits nicely, and it's a lot better fit for the customer. Then on the doors as well, the customer's been playing with it actually, because unlike the hard tops, they have these pins on the back of the door to line up the doors, and the customer's been trying to get those correct, and it's difficult because there wasn't many convertibles made. There's not a lot of information about them, but we managed to get it right now. So when the doors close, they close really nicely, nice and neatly, and the doors and the gaps were just absolutely brilliant. So one of the things I really like about this car, it looks like it's come straight out of the era that it was built for. It doesn't look over restored. It doesn't look perfect in every aspect. It looks like a used car, and for something so special and rare as this car, I think it's brilliant that it gets used and people see it and it gets driven around. It's quite an understated looking car. I think it's fantastic, and small things like the way it looks in the engine bay. You know, it's got the original paint still here in the engine bay, so it looks as it would when it left the factory. And we're actually putting a new liner in here. This is why this looks a bit ropey under here, but we're putting a new fresh liner in here. But that was because it's been on there so long and it's starting to wear away. But even the small details, everything, the work that we've done, we've tried to keep it as looking original as possible. So I hope that when somebody looks at it, they question whether it's original paint or not. Fantastic example. I mean, one of the things I really like to see in a car like this and this era is if it looks like the interior is worn from that era, it just looks fantastic. It looks dated, but a very clean, fantastic looking example. So really pleased with the job. I'm just going to do a final hand glaze of the car and a protection coat, and then it's going to go back to the customer, ready to have the final assembly, and then it's ready for summer season next year.